It is almost the month of October, which means we are approaching an anniversary very soon. What anniversary, you might ask? The anniversary of Super Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey came out in 2017 on October 27th and was a huge hit across the globe. I mean, so big, in fact, Nintendo was celebrating it in New York with an actual dance routine and a party, a big celebration for the midnight release. I mean, it was the biggest deal at the time. And of course, we know it has been 6 years since that game this October, and also 6 years since an original brand new 3D Mario game. It seems like for the past 6 years, we've also been talking about what was going to be next for Mario, how this idea of the capture mechanic was one of the coolest things Nintendo has ever done with the character, and how we all was desperately hoping for a Super Mario Odyssey 2 that never came. Well, today I want to talk about what happened and why we never got Odyssey 2 and why I don't think we necessarily needed it after this long wait. Yes, I actually don't think we did need it. But before we get into that discussion, stop what you're doing. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you really enjoyed this video. It helps out so much. Let's see how many likes we can get on this one video, and also how many of you we can get to subscribe, because a lot of you watching this video right now are not yet subbed. We're going to try to move this bar up as far as we can, so thank you so much for supporting the video, and let's dive in. About a couple of years ago, everyone put it in their heads that Super Mario Odyssey 2 was just going to happen. I mean, it just made common sense, especially after we got the reveal of the sequel to Breath of the Wild. It just seemed like Nintendo was making sequels of their biggest games, and getting Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild out in year one of the Switch meant they definitely could do another game before the end of its life cycle, and everybody was on board with this. I mean, I guess you could say that I was more than just on board. I actually was very sure that this was going to happen. In fact, you know, I made probably more Mario Odyssey 2 videos than any human being possibly should, but that's besides the point. Once again, we were just kind of putting Mario in the same position that lots of other Nintendo IPs were in. We were seeing lots of big franchises receive their second games. We've seen Fire Emblem get 2 games, we've seen Xenoblade get 2 games, the Kirby franchise got an original 2D and 3D game on the Switch. Mario Rabbids actually got 2 games on the Switch, with Kingdom Battle and Sparks of Hope. Obviously, we have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and its sequel Tears of the Kingdom, and also Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3, 2 Splatoon multiplayer games on the Switch. I mean, shoot, we're getting 2 WarioWare games on one console. Has that, like, ever happened? For crying out loud, they gave us a sequel to 1-2 Switch before Super Mario Odyssey 2. Let me also state for a second, I understand, because Mario has gotten so much love on the Switch, especially since the last Nintendo Direct. There are tons of spin-offs, remakes, remasters, ports. Mario has gotten pretty much every serious game, almost every serious game so far. I'm definitely not saying Mario isn't eating. Mario fans are eating extremely well, actually. It's just kind of that mainline point, and it actually took 6 years until we've seen anything mainline, 2D or 3D, as Super Mario Wonder is now coming out next month, which is around that 6-year mark. 6 years for a new Super Mario game is kind of nuts. I think it's safe to say, with all of these amazing remakes, ports, spin-offs of Mario games, there was still just one game that people were looking forward to, and that was the next 3D Mario game, being Super Mario Odyssey 2. But the question is, what happened to Super Mario Odyssey 2? Was it even possible? Could this actually have been a thing? Well, let's talk about it. Now the question is, okay, could this actually have worked if Nintendo did go with it? Well, yeah, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why people were expecting this game in the first place. It just made so much sense at the time that Mario Odyssey 2 was the perfect template for a sequel, even more than Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were. The capture mechanic was so good and so well implemented, it probably could have made for another 2-3 games in that matter. So a sequel was something that we were expecting because, for one, there's so many other enemies that weren't even able to be in this game because there just wasn't enough room for captures. I mean, you could have captures from Mario enemies across the entire franchise and have unique ways to capture them and play as them. It was a perfect opportunity, and I think people just had a lot of fun playing as these enemies from the Mario franchise. Finally being able to play as a Goomba, as a Hammer Bro, as a Cheep Cheep. That was what was so fun, and there were still so many enemies that could be captured. And remember, in Super Mario Odyssey, it wasn't just enemies, it was also tons of weird objects like a tree, and meat. So there could have been a lot more things they could have had us capture, and some really creative things at that. So yeah, Super Mario Odyssey 2 would have been the game to do that. And don't even get me started on worlds and kingdoms. I mean, seriously, they could have made so many more kingdoms without even having to come up with original ones. For one, you can even see the world map of Mario Odyssey just had so much more open land for each of the kingdoms. They could have just, spread them out even more. Go back to the Sand Kingdom and actually, have a different area that looks a lot different than Toast Arena, a different city area to go explore. And there's just lots of kingdoms that weren't, utilized as much, like the Cloud Kingdom. There really wasn't nothing there. It was just a boss fight. And the same thing with the Ruin Kingdom. So they could have expanded already existing ones or even brought back old kingdoms from past Mario games, such as the Bean Bean Kingdom from Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, or even Isle Delfino would have worked as well. It's not really like it was a lack of content. If anything, they had tons of ideas that would have worked. I mean, I could sit down and jot down probably thousands of ideas of how a sequel could work, so I don't think it was based on ideas why it didn't happen. It definitely could have happened if Nintendo really wanted it to. Fast forward to February 12th of 2021. It's been 4 years since Super Mario Odyssey, and around the time where you start to expect something else from Mario. And as we're waiting, we get the reveal of Super Mario 3D World coming to the Nintendo Switch, but with a side mode, a brand new extra mode called Bowser's Fury. This broke the tradition of the fixed camera from Mario 3D World and allowed us to roam freely in this kind of mini open world on Lake Lapcat. This would turn out to be a super fun addition to Super Mario 3D World, and one that a lot of people would love so much they would actually start to speedrun the game immediately and find ways to beat it as quickly as possible, as the main game only took around 2 hours to complete. This was definitely a fun addition, but it just still never felt like a true, original, brand new 3D Mario game that we've been waiting for. And a lot of people got scared by this. This game popping up after 4 years of waiting until Mario Odyssey 2 started to make us wonder if this was our next 3D Mario game and if we actually weren't going to get Odyssey 2 because of Bowser's Fury. And a lot of people were trying to make us relax and say, no, this is just a spin-off thing. This is definitely not going to intervene with whatever the Odyssey team is working on. Well, that definitely didn't seem to be the case. As now we're about 2.5 years later and still no word on Odyssey 2 or really anything related to 3D Mario, which does seem to prove that Bowser's Fury was going to be our next little tie-over of 3D Mario until Nintendo revealed whatever the next new game was. I think just the plain existence of this game was a little weird to me from the start. It kind of already rubbed me a wrong way, thinking that why would Nintendo want to go back to the kind of way that Mario 3D World controls after the controls and engine of Super Mario Odyssey. It kind of made me feel like they were done with Mario Odyssey. It was also the fact that Bowser's Fury was doing something completely different by giving us a truly open world, allowing us to explore the entire world pretty much however we want once we unlocked different segments of the world, which was something that Mario has never really done. It's definitely had open areas and it's always had sandbox Mario games like 64's Sunshine and even Odyssey, but it was never really an open world. The levels were definitely segmented and you had to hop from level to level to explore a mini open area. But this is truly, technically, the first open world Mario game we've ever received. And because of this game and the long time period being almost 5 to 6 years now of no brand new 3D Mario game, I started to wonder if Mario Odyssey 2 was ever being worked on in the first place. If Nintendo wasn't just working on something bigger, better, more ambitious to match the kind of flow of Bowser's Fury being more open-ended. But it wasn't just Bowser's Fury and the brand new direction that it was taking Mario that got me, but it was also the timing, and just the timing didn't match up for Mario Odyssey 2. Well, as we get into the around year 5/year 6 mark, we start hearing rumors once again pop up about the Nintendo Switch 2. Even as current day, we're hearing so much about this new console, and apparently it's coming holiday of 2024, which is next year. And with that, also big rumors talking about what the launch title is going to be. There's lots of talk about Metroid Prime 4 being early on the brand new console. Just recently, we start to hear rumors of apparently a brand new 3D open world Mario game coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, whatever the new console is going to be called, as a launch title for holiday 2024. This is something that started to click in a lot of our minds. There's no way Nintendo would reveal a brand new 3D Mario game at the end of the Switch lifecycle, and maybe it's because they were too busy working on something so ambitious they didn't have time to squeeze in a Mario Odyssey 2 on the Switch before moving on to the next console. Nintendo probably knew a long time ago that they needed something very big to open up the brand new console, and they already used up their Zelda because they did it with Breath of the Wild on the original Switch, and Tears of the Kingdom just launched at the end of the current Switch's life cycle. So they needed something else. What else is as big as Zelda or bigger that's going to sell units? Of course, it's Mario. So Nintendo decided that they need to work on this brand new Mario game for this new console, but at the same time giving us a brand new 2D game as well. And we know from Super Mario Bros. Wonder's development team that they had no timeline and no due date. They had tons of time to work on this game and perfect it to absolute perfect quality, and they give us this game at the end of the Switch life cycle and gearing up for a brand new huge 3D Mario game at the beginning of the new console's life cycle. But with recent reports stating that this brand new Switch could be as powerful as the PS5, if not more powerful, yes, that is a true thing with the reports right now. A lot of people are just telling me that I'm just making that up. No, it's being reported right now. But with this console potentially being that powerful, or at least just last generation powerful, you're gonna have to show off a game to prove how high quality this console is. And of course, a lot of people are pitching in the idea of Metroid Prime 4, which would be a great game to showcase power, but imagine a gigantic open world Mario game like the rumors are suggesting, where we can move around and run around a giant mushroom kingdom from different biomes like the desert, snow, and jungle areas, and just pretty much explore a full-fledged open world, just like that test of Bowser's Fury was allowing us to do just a couple years ago. So perhaps Odyssey 2 just couldn't be in the cards, and neither could DLC, because Nintendo was too busy working and preparing on something so massive for Mario that it's going to absolutely blow our minds in just over a year. Well, with all that, I'm here to say, we no longer need a Super Mario Odyssey 2. Yep, I'm kind of just walking out on faith by saying that, but I feel like a Mario Odyssey 2 on a brand new console and after 7 years would just be way too long of a wait for a sequel like that. Mario Odyssey 2 definitely could have happened, and there was tons of content that they could have flushed into that game, but at the end of the day, it's just something that Nintendo never really wanted to do. I mean, we even see pieces of it in other games, such as Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which allows Mario and friends to turn into different things, including Goombas, just like Super Mario Odyssey and other enemies and transformations. So I feel like that concept can still carry on through other spin-offs and other mainline games as well, without necessarily needing Cappy or the capture mechanic from Super Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey does a lot of things right, but there's also tons of room for it to improve and to grow, and Nintendo's all about growth and exploring new options and new paths for Mario. So that's probably exactly what they're doing right now, expanding the Mario franchise by doing something that we've never seen before. As someone who also really wanted Super Mario Odyssey 2, probably more than anyone else in this world at this point, I can also admit that maybe it's time to put that idea to rest. Maybe Mario Odyssey 2 was just a dream and something that's just not going to happen because there's better things on the way. Nintendo's working on even more ambitious and crazy ideas for the next Mario game, maybe even opening it up to even bigger worlds and more exploration for the plumber. Mario Odyssey did its job. It did everything it was supposed to do, and I'm definitely going to miss this game. It'll always be one of my favorite Nintendo games of all time and one of my favorite Mario games for sure, because this game just brought charm and love to the community. From the very first reveal trailer to the time it was able to be played by us, the community, this game was my everything for so many years. And now, 6 years later, almost 7, we're waiting on this next big 3D Mario game with our hopes high in the sky. So let's not be sad because Odyssey 2 never happened, but let's rejoice because we got a game as great as Super Mario Odyssey. And here's to the future of 3D Mario.